Hello and welcome to Security on Screen. Today I'm at the World Police Summit. I'm delighted to be able to learn a little bit more about Interpol and the work that they're doing on a global basis. I'm joined by the Secretary General, Jürgen Stock. He's going to explain a little bit more about the reach into this particular arena of policing on a global basis. Jürgen, thank you for taking time to speak with us here at Security on Screen. The first thing I notice is that we have a 100-year anniversary of Interpol. Perhaps you'd like to expand out on that for me.
Thank you very much. Yeah, indeed, a very special year for Interpol. Created 1923 in Vienna after the then Chief of Police from Vienna thought we need to develop a kind of platform, a regular platform where police officers from different countries are coming together and trying to help identifying, tracking, tracing, and finally arresting criminals. And that was when Interpol actually was born in Vienna 100 years ago. This year, indeed, a special year. I'd like to say the mission of Interpol has not been changing, still the same. We are connecting police, but of course today we are having 195 member countries, so we are spanning almost all around the globe. And this mission of Interpol, connecting police for a safer world, is more important than ever in light of global crime developments.
So from an event like, here we are at the World Police Summit, an event like this must be a gift for Interpol then to assist you with your messaging.
It is indeed. I think the motto of this conference here is closing gaps to provide for better security solutions, and this is a perfect platform here to not only connect amongst law enforcement officials, but also connecting to the private sector, because the private sector increasingly has an important role to play also in terms of prevention, but also helping law enforcement in terms of investigations, because new technologies are a topic for criminals to be more sophisticated in conducting their criminal business, but also new technology is an opportunity for law enforcement to be more effective in the fight against crime. And this is also a platform here in Dubai to connect to international security companies, private sector, because again, only through strong partnerships amongst law enforcement, but also building bridges to the private sector, we will address in an efficient way today's challenges that are caused by cybercrime, borderless by nature, organized crime, and international terrorism.
So let's just pick up on a little bit of what you've spoken about there, Jürgen, if we may. The threat landscape shifted somewhat over the COVID period. We're now well out of COVID. Are you seeing a return to the crime patterns that you were mitigating previously, or has crime moved on?
I mean, you're absolutely right. It was perhaps the biggest shift I have seen in my 40-year career within the police, that criminals so quickly took advantage of the new vulnerabilities that COVID-19 brought to all of us. Travel restrictions, lockdowns, shifting governmental services to online platforms. And the criminals were quite quick and innovative in exactly exploiting these new vulnerabilities. So it was a kind of parallel pandemic of crime that occurred, and we are still dealing with that to some extent, because specifically cyberspace, online crime, is providing unprecedented opportunities for criminals to attack our systems. You no longer have to travel to commit a crime like in the good old times when I was a young police officer. Today you can remain on your sofa and you can just attack a computer system anywhere in the world. And this is perhaps the main challenge that law enforcement is facing in the 21st century.
So, cyber, AI, that we haven't talked about AI, that's another area presumably that you must be looking at.
It might be the biggest game changer. At least we are expecting in Interpol that, of course, criminals have already been starting in using artificial intelligence to some extent, fake identities, phishing attacks, scamming, business email compromise, potentially AI can also support criminal activity. So you could say any new technology is neutral by nature, I would agree, but societies need to be better prepared to already consider to which extent criminals can use a new technology on the one hand. So security by design here is the key word, but on the other hand also seeing opportunities for law enforcement to use new technologies to be more successful in going after criminals who are using new technologies. And using technology, using it in an ethical way, that is also an important topic for Interpol we are currently dealing with.
Well, I think one of the things that I'm aware of is that, since AI seems to impact on a global basis in what feels like a very short space of time, one of the concerns that creates is privacy for the individual. Is that an area that Interpol gets involved with as well?
You are right. We have at a very early stage been starting in cooperation, for instance, with United Nations body in developing a kind of artificial intelligence responsible use ethical toolkit that we are providing to our member countries for their political discussions to find the right balance between privacy, the security of data on the one hand, but on the other hand using these new technologies also to make crime fighting more effective. So we have to have that discussion on national, on international level to find the right balance, and Interpol is continuing providing advice to our member countries with international partners. We have been creating an artificial intelligence responsible use laboratory in our innovation center in Singapore, where we are sitting together with ethics, not only within policing, but also from the academia, private sector, regulators, again to help member countries finding the right balance and the right political approach, regulatory approach to make use of new technologies on the one hand, but doing it in an ethical way that protects human rights and privacy on the other hand. So this is definitely also a priority for Interpol.
So you've brought me up to date with where you are from sort of COVID, pandemic and current landscape. From a future policing perspective, you're in an excellent position to offer a little bit of an opinion there. What would you say we've got coming at us?
I mean, we try to be a little bit at the forefront. We are doing for instance, with industry partners, with academia, with organizations like the World Economic Forum, a lot of foresight work. So we try to assess already today how crime in 5 or in 10 years from now might look like to ensure that global law enforcement is being prepared. I think cyberspace, all crime related to cyberspace, will remain the key challenge for law enforcement in the future. And an issue we are struggling with is providing our membership the right training for police officers, the right equipment they need to address these types of crime. And I can tell you from my personal experience, having interaction with a lot of national police forces, a lot of police forces around the world are struggling, providing their police officers the right training, have the right equipment, be readily available to tackle these types of crime. And Interpol is doing a lot, helping member countries, training their officers, providing the right material, technology and support to be a strong partner in our global network. That is a challenge and will remain a challenge because technology is developing so fast and definitely not waiting until law enforcement or even regulators on a political level are being prepared to provide that framework that is required, that we can use these incredible achievements for human beings in a responsible and safe way for children, for the elderly communities, for everyone, also companies and private sector in all parts of our societies actually.
And taking a final sort of headline view, you're 195 countries. What would you say to those that are policing in non-member countries about working with you? How does that work?
I mean, one of the base of success that the cooperation framework of Interpol is having is that countries agreed on a proper legal framework. So everyone who is using, every member country's police service that decides to use Interpol strategically for a certain operation, for sharing information, is expected to respect our legal framework, our rules on the processing of data. We have a clear commitment in our constitution that we work in the spirit of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Interpol's role is not policing the member countries, what they do nationally or what they do bilaterally between countries. But if countries decide to use Interpol, they have to apply to our rules. And one of the tasks the General Secretariat under my leadership is having is to make sure that every request, every piece of information that is channeled through Interpol globally is compliant with our rules. That is accepted, and that is maybe part of the success why Interpol, in a diverse world of different legal systems, today, in today's world, of course, also of geopolitical tensions, nevertheless works well. We stay away from politics, we stay away from military activity, we go after the criminals who simply want to make money, but this is something Interpol is doing since 100 years in a very efficient way.
Well, Jürgen, thank you for taking time just to expand out a little bit about where we are currently. It's been a pleasure to speak with you, and I thank you for taking time to speak with the audience of Security on Screen.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.